A 2021 report by the Financial Health Network found that nearly 60% of all overdraft fees in 2020 were paid by low and moderate income households, and about 25% were paid by Latino households specifically. According to the CFPB, the banks made $15 billion a year in overdraft and non-sufficient funds. To put that into context, the banks altogether made $71.7 billion in the third quarter of 2022. Do overdraft fees appear to be a major source of revenue for banks?
So they certainly have been. What we are seeing, though, is a shift in the market where they're finally starting to compete. And some banks are drastically reducing them, eliminating them. And a key consumer problem is sometimes a consumer expects one overdraft fee, but they get hit with a ton of bricks and 3 fees, even though when they looked in their balance, they had enough money. We are trying to take action to go after illegal overdraft practices to make sure that these are not an unnecessary financial hardship and that there's compliance with the law.
Yeah, it seems to me that these institutions would be successful in terms of their financial wherewithal without these fees, and they particularly affect the most significant in our society who are already at a disadvantage. So I urge your continued engagement on this and appreciate it. I continue to hear story after story from New Jersey constituents who have fallen victim to scams and fraud on Zelle, and in many instances been denied relief by their banks. I understand that the big banks that own Zelle are considering a plan to require the network members to compensate victims of certain kinds of scams. That would be CFPB was working on guidance regarding liability for Zelle scams. Has that work progressed? Where are we at with it?
Well, we have been talking to banks, small banks and big ones, about how to reduce the scourge of fraud in real-time payments. This is not just about Zelle. It's also about other P2P apps. Some small banks who aren't part of the ownership structure of Zelle and others too can set up frameworks that actually reduce the total amount of fraud when it comes to P2P apps and bank-owned solutions.
Well, I appreciate that. I know that Senator Reid to continue to be engaged in this space, and it's incredibly important. And Mr. Chair, if I have one more minute, I just want to note the bipartisan work we did here in Congress to shepherd the Debt Bondage Repair Act into law. That bill was led by ranking in the Senate, and certainly I helped make it happen. This helps the survivors of human trafficking negative marks associated with their abuse from credit reports. In June, you issued a final rule to implement the legislation, and I want to thank you. I think we should all be reminded of the scourge of human trafficking, and in this case, how we can provide some relief to the victims.
I have similar concerns about impacts on victims of domestic violence and how credit reporting can be used as a weapon. We're trying to think about all the ways in which all of your work on human trafficking, one of the many times that Congress has passed a law and the CFPB has faithfully implemented it. Every time Congress and is accountable for it.
One of the many reasons we need a CFPB. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Menendez.